Good morning, geometry students. Welcome to class on Monday the 21st. I hope you guys have had a good weekend and hope you're ready to learn some math. Jasa, while I'm thinking of it, congratulations on you guys finishing second in the region. I know that is not what you guys wanted, but congratulations. And I heard it was a very close championship game. It went 5 games, I believe, and I think it was very close in the end. So congratulations to you guys, and I hope you do really well at the state this week. Quick announcements. There'll be no quiz or test this week. I am attempting to change our test quiz day. Mr. Harmon has told me that Friday is not always the best day with availability of the computer lab, etc. So I have emailed him and asked him to tell me which days are the best for him to test and quiz. We will not have a test or quiz this week. Also, I'm doing that for Jasa a little bit. Only 1/4 of the class was missing last week for volleyball and only 1/4 this week, but still it's 2 weeks in a row, and I want to be considerate to her, and I don't want her to get behind again on another test or quiz. So no quiz or test this week. No homework to turn in because we had a test on Friday. You had no homework over the weekend, so no homework to turn in. Jason, let's talk about your makeup test real quick. I will give you until Wednesday for obvious reasons. First of all, you're going to be gone, as far as I know, Thursday and Friday, and I do not want you to carry this over until next week. That's just not wise. So there's the review sheet that you can watch, the video that will help you. Excuse me for a second. And that is still, of course, on the website, so be sure and use that. Hopefully you're not taking the test today. I do not have the test yet in Mr. Harmon's hands. I will have that at school on Tuesday. I hope that is not a problem, and I apologize if it is. If you really want to take it today, you somehow get to the office when first hour's over and call me, and all that I have to do is send him an email with your test attached, and he'll have it in 1 minute, so it's not a big deal. But test by Wednesday. Test retakes. Some of you did well on the test. I cannot pass out your test until everyone's taken it, obviously. However, some of you did not do well. As far as I know, Berean still allows test retakes. Now here are my rules. Number 1, you must do it this week, and I'm going to remind you every day. So if a mom or a dad is upset at me, I'm going to say, look, here's the videos, you can listen. I reminded the students every day. Number 2, you must tell me. Students, I have to make a whole new test, and I'm not going to make a whole new test unless someone says, yes, I'm taking a retake. So you must email me or call me, whatever you want to do, that's up to you. All of the teachers' emails at Berean are the same. It's the first name, then the first letter of the first name. So Earhart M, for me, Earhart M at BereanAcademy.net. So if you're going to take a test retake, you've got to let me know. And don't tell me the day you're taking it. I've got to know what day, I've got to know what teacher, what hour. I've got to get that test to that teacher. So you've got to do all the planning. You've got to know what day, what teacher, what hour, and let me know, and I will get the test to that teacher, okay? And we've been having some problems with people finishing the test on time. I'm thinking about doing something. It's a pretty cool idea. I'm thinking about having a fill-in-the-blank test on one day, and then the next day the rest of the test. Just something I'm thinking about to eliminate that problem, but we'll talk about that later. Call me or email me if you have any questions. Let's have a great day today. Let's have a great week this week. And let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be looking at a chapter today. And by the way, I will tell you when I want you to write something down. You do not need to write any of this down. I'm just kind of laying a foundation here. We are going to be starting a chapter today dealing with congruent triangles. Congruent triangles. During this chapter, we are going to start the painful process of learning how to do proofs. I'm not going to lie to you, they are difficult. I compare geometry proofs to factoring and algebra. Both topics are not easy, but both topics are fundamental to their respective classes. You must know how to factor before you can take advanced math, pre-calculus, or even go very far in Algebra 2. Well, you must know how to do proofs in geometry if you're going to do well this year. Now, I will not make the proofs unreasonable. This is supposed to be a Track 2 class where I do not make the tests super hard, but you are going to have to know how to do geometry proofs. So we will get into that in this chapter, not today, but very soon. Go ahead and copy this in your notes, would you please? We are looking today at congruent triangles and their corresponding parts. Congruent triangles and their corresponding parts. The date today, if you'd like to keep track of that, and I encourage you to do that, is the 21st. The date today is the 21st. You do not need to write this down unless you want to, but you don't need to. Just listen. It is very important today that you understand three things. We need to know what congruent triangles means, or exactly what is that. You need to know how to match up corresponding parts of one triangle with the corresponding parts of another triangle. That's really important. Number 3, you need to know how to write a proper congruence statement. None of this material today is difficult. It's actually pretty easy, but you still have to be taught how to do it, so please pay attention. These are the 3 things we're going to focus on today. Now, what does congruent triangles mean? Please copy this in your notes. You are responsible for this on your next test and quiz. Congruent figures. Now, when I say figures, that could be a square, triangle, any type of polygon, okay? Congruent figures. Now listen to this definition very carefully. This is so important. When do we have congruent triangles or congruent figures? Well, when all corresponding angles and all corresponding sides are congruent. Now, you know me by now, and you know I'm going to give you a picture of this in a second and let you see it. But before I do that, let's go over this again. Congruent figures. Figures in which all corresponding angles and all corresponding sides are congruent. Let me give you a picture of this. Would you please write this in your notes? Notice we have a triangle here that has 3 angles, 70, 85, and 25. Over here we have 3 angles, 70, 85, and 25. Notice we have 3 congruent sides. The sides over here are 3, 5, and 45. The sides over here are 3, 5, and 45. Okay? Now look. My pen's not working. Hold on one second. There we go. We know that these 2 triangles are congruent, and here's the congruent symbol right here. How do we know these 2 triangles are congruent? Well, look at the definition. All of the angles and all of the sides have to be congruent. When that happens, then you can say this figure here is congruent to this figure here. Do you see that? All of the sides have to be congruent. All of the angles have to be congruent. Okay? All right, it's very important that you see that. Now notice here I used numbers. Do you see that? All these numbers. We'll take a look at this. Another way, I would write this down. Another way to show congruent triangles without using numbers is shown below. Look at this. This side has 1 slash. This side over here has 1 slash. This side has 2. This side has 2. This side here has 3. And this side here has 3. That means this side here is congruent to this side here. That means this side here is congruent to this side here. And this side here is congruent to this side here. So we have all 3 sides congruent to all 3 sides in the 2 triangles. Now, also watch this. Look at the angles. Notice here I have 1 slash, and over here 1 slash. Those two angles are congruent. Here I have 2, 1, 2. Over here I have 2, 1, 2. Over here I have 3, 1, 2, 3. Over here 3, 1, 2, 3. So every angle in this triangle is congruent to every angle in this triangle over here. So here is a way that we can see that two triangles are what? Congruent without any numbers. Just by symbolism and markings, we can see that. All right? So, step 1 has been done. I just showed you what congruent triangles means. All of the sides and all of the angles must be congruent to the corresponding sides and angles. Okay? All right, now let's continue on. Now let's learn how to match up corresponding parts with corresponding parts of congruent triangles. Please watch carefully. It's very important you know how to do this, all right? Copy this in your notes. Grab a drink of water here. While I'm grabbing a drink, go ahead and get started copying. Now I know these are the same triangles that we had up here just a minute ago. And if you want to somehow in your notes draw arrows or something and make note that we're using the same triangles, that's up to you. Okay? But we are going to use these two triangles. So go ahead and copy these down again or draw arrows in your notes, whatever you would like to do. And you know by now, I go pretty fast. You can always pause the video, but not speed it up. So I'm going to move on. I want you to learn now how to match corresponding parts of congruent triangles and list them out. Are you ready? So in your notes, go ahead and put the word angles. And I want you to put angle A is congruent to angle E. Do you see that? 70 degrees, 70 degrees. And then next we'll write angle B. Angle B is congruent to angle G. Do you see that? Angle B is 85, angle G is 85 degrees. They're congruent. And then angle C is congruent to angle M. They're both 25 degrees. Pretty easy. So what you just did is you listed out or you matched up corresponding parts of congruent triangles. I'm telling you right here with this symbol that these two triangles are congruent, so I'm asking you to list out and match up the congruent parts. So there, you listed out the angles, and now we're going to list out the congruent sides. It really doesn't matter what side you start with. I'm just going to start with AB because I feel like it. So AB is right here, and AB has a length of 3. So I come over here, and GE has a length of 3. So AB is congruent to GE. Now again, it doesn't matter which side you list out next. I'm just going to say AC. There's really no reason. Notice AC has a length of 5. And over here, ME has a length of 5. So AC is congruent to ME. Now, I've used AB and AC. I have not used BC. That's the last side I have not used. And BC has a length of 4.5. MG has a length of 4.5. By the way, you might have put GM. That's totally fine. It doesn't matter. You could have put EM right here. You could have put EG right here. It does not matter of the order when you're listing out a segment or the side of a triangle. So BC is congruent to MG. So there we go. I'm telling you, today's math is not difficult. You'll be done with the homework very quickly, and the notes also. This is not too hard. All right, let's continue on. Now, I would like you to work ahead or watch me, whatever you would like to do. I believe we have these triangles in your notes already. Right back here, maybe. No, I guess we don't. So go ahead and copy these triangles in your notes if you would, please. And then on your own, or you can watch me, not for a bonus point. You guys should have quite a few bonus points because we haven't had a quiz for a long time. So I'm pretty sure you have plenty of bonus points in your account. If I'm wrong, someone shoot me off an email or something and let me know. But I want you to watch me or work ahead, whatever you choose to do. I want us to list out the congruent angles and the congruent sides from these two triangles that are congruent. So I'm going to start off personally with angle T. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I chose T. It has one slash, and angle I has one slash. So angle T is congruent to angle I. Next, I'm going to go to angle A. No certain reason. I just chose angle A. Notice angle A has two slashes, and notice over here angle K has two slashes, so A is congruent to K. And then the last letter is angle R, and angle R has three slashes, and so does M. So angle R is congruent to angle M. Okay? Pretty simple. Now let's take a look at the sides. And again, there's really no certain side you have to start with. I'm just going to start with AT because I feel like it. I guess because it has one slash, really doesn't matter. AT has one slash, and KI. So I can write AT is congruent to KI. All right, let's continue on. AR has two slashes, and MK has two slashes. Okay, so here we go. AR and MK. AR is congruent to MK. They both have two slashes. And now, this side here has three slashes, and so does this side here. So we're looking at TR is congruent to MI. TR is congruent to MI. So there we go. We're just learning to list out the corresponding parts of triangles that are congruent. Okay, excuse me, grabbing a quick drink of water, and now we're moving on. So here's what we've done so far. We've went over what congruent triangles mean, so we're done with that. And now we just learned how to match up corresponding parts of one triangle with the corresponding parts of another triangle. And now lastly, let's learn how to write a proper congruence statement. All right? This is very, 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 very important. Here we go. Again, we have these triangles in our notes, so you're welcome to copy them down again, or you can draw arrows. That's up to you. But I want us to learn how to write proper congruence statements. Let me show you what I mean. If you'll take some really good notes and listen carefully, I can help you. I would like us to state that triangle ABE, ABE is congruent to this triangle over here. But guess what, students? There's a certain way you have to do this. Okay, you have to do it this way or you will miss it. You can't just write triangle GLS or GSL or SGL. You can't do that. You have to write the order very carefully, and here's how you know what order to use. Angle A came first, right? Do you see this? Angle A. And notice that angle A is 25 degrees. So over here, because angle G is also 25 degrees, G must come first. Now look at your second letter, B. Well, angle B is 70. So the angle you must write next from this other triangle is angle L, because it is also 70 degrees. And then notice the last letter is E. E is 85 degrees. So we must write S over here because angle S is 85 degrees. Now, this is the right way to write a proper congruent statement. Well, Mr. Earhart, what if I wrote EAB? What if I turned these three letters around? That doesn't matter. Notice E was last here, and what went with E? S. So if you put E first, then just simply put S first. It's no big deal, okay? Here's A. What did we say went with the letter A? G. So if you wrote A second, then just put G second. And then lastly here you would put L, because notice B and L go together. B and L. So it doesn't matter really what order you write your first triangle, as long as after you put the congruent symbol and you write your second triangle, make sure you're matching up the proper letters with the proper letters, okay, or the proper angles with the proper angles. Or the right way to say it, match up corresponding angles with corresponding angles, okay? Very, very important. Now I'm going to glance ahead here real quick. I hope I have something written down. Good, I do. I wanted to make sure we had something. And what it was is this right here. We're going to talk about that in a second. Okay, now you can work ahead or watch me. Go ahead and copy these in your notes. I'm going to quickly grab a drink of water here. You are welcome to work ahead or watch me, but I would like us to write some congruent statements, maybe 2 or 3, all right? So I'm going to start off over here with simply putting triangle A, B, C. There we go, triangle ABC. Now let's stop. Don't get confused. If I said, students, list out the corresponding parts, that's when you do this. You list out the congruent angles and you list out the congruent sides, okay? But when I say to you to write a congruence statement for these 2 triangles, that is when we do it this way. I hope you see the difference. So I went ahead and wrote triangle ABC. And I'm going to say it's congruent to triangle. Now look at A. A is a right angle, and E over here is a right angle. So because A came first over here, E will come first over here. Notice my second angle is B. Well, B has 1 slash. D has 1 slash. They're congruent angles. So because B came second, D came second. And then lastly, here's angle C. And notice that angle C has 2 slashes. And notice that F has 2 slashes. So those 2 angles are congruent. So C corresponds to F. And there, we wrote a congruent statement. Now, I would like you to do one on your own using C, A, B. Go ahead and do that now. Usually I have you pause the video. This time, I'm just going to get really quiet, and I'm going to wait about 30 seconds. And I want you to see if you can fill in the proper blanks over here, writing a proper, correct, congruent statement by starting off with triangle C, A, B. Go ahead and do that now. Do not pause the video. Okay, hopefully you've had enough time to do this. You should have realized that C came first and F corresponds with C. A came second and E corresponds with angle A. And then you should have seen that B came last here and B corresponds with D. Now let me show you something else that's really, really, really cool. You know how we matched up sides like AB has 1 slash? And DE has 1 slash, so we know we can state that AB is congruent to DE. Remember how we did that? Can I show you something really cool? Here's why it's so important that you learn how to write your congruent statements correctly. Did you know that once you get this statement written correctly, not only do you know which angles are congruent, angle A is congruent to angle E, B is congruent to D, C is we know that. Did you know you can also match up sides? Look at this. What's the first 2 letters right here? AB. What's the first 2 letters over here? DE. Look at this. What did I write? AB is congruent to DE. AB is congruent to DE, or ED, same thing. Really cool. Watch this. What's the second 2 letters? BC. What's the second 2 letters over here? DF. So I'm telling you BC is congruent to DF. Let's see. Here's BC. It has 3 slashes. Here's DF. It has 3 slashes. Do you see how important it is to get your statement written correctly? And how about this? What's the first letter and the last letter? AC. What's the first letter and the last letter? EF. So I can state that AC is congruent to EF. Let's see if that's right. AC has 2 slashes and EF has 2 slashes. Now that is really cool. Okay? And by the way, Mr. Earhart, would that work with this congruent statement? Sure it would. As long as your angles are lined up, C with F, C with F, A with E, B with D, then the sides also line up. You know that CA is congruent to FE. You know that side AB is congruent to side ED. And you know that side CB is congruent to side FD. Okay? And that's really, really helpful. So one more thing, and we're done for the day. Here it is. I want you, here's a congruent statement. I want you to do this on your own or follow along with me, however you want to do it. You can pause the video, do it on your own, and then watch to see if you did it right, or you can just do it with me. I have given you a congruence statement. Do you see it? You should. It's right here. Have I given you any triangles that you can actually see? No, not at all. I've just given you the congruent statements. I don't see any triangles like in the last problem here. I had a triangle here and a triangle here. Okay? We don't have that right here. But did you know that we can still, remember how earlier we listed out corresponding congruent angles with corresponding congruent sides? And notice when we did that, we had pictures of triangles right here. We can do that without pictures of triangles. It's really easy. Your first angle is X, and your first angle is M. So we know for sure that angle X is congruent to angle M. Very good. My second angle is Y. My second angle is N. So I know that angle Y is congruent to angle N. And then my last letter is Z and my last letter is O. So I know that angle Z is congruent to angle O. Isn't that cool? So you just listed out the 3 sets of congruent angles based on a congruent statement. Now let's work on the sides. What's your first 2 letters? XY. What's your first 2 letters? MN. So we know that XY is congruent to MN. Pretty cool. What's your last 2 letters? YZ. What's your last 2 letters? NO. So we know that YZ is congruent to NO. YZ congruent to NO. Now, look at the first 2 letters over here, X and Z. And did I say the first 2? I'm not sure what I said. Let's try this again, just in case. Look at the first and last letters of this triangle, and look at the first and last letters. So we know that XZ is congruent to MO. There we go. Now you've listed out the congruent sides just based on a congruent statement. You did not even need to see the triangles, and you could list out the corresponding sides and the corresponding angles, the corresponding parts. Pretty cool. I want you to work hard on your homework tonight, please. Page 18 through 20 all, 21 through 33 odd, and 37 through 40 all. Please work hard on your homework. Call me or email me if you have any questions. And again, Jason, please don't forget about your test by Wednesday. And if you want to take that tomorrow, today, I'm making the video Sunday night. Sorry, if you want to take the test on today, Monday, just somehow call me from the school office and I will shoot off an email to Mr. Harmon with the test attached. Okay? Hope you guys have a good rest of the day.